So you're thinking about making that move to San Diego, California, but you don't know where to start. Today, we're going to be talking about the definite things you got to know and why you got to know them before you make that move. And we're getting started right now. What's up, amazing people? I am Liz 𝐒𝐻𝐪 here with the MortgageLiz team located out of San Diego, California. And if this is the first time to my channel and you're looking for all the info of what it's like to eat, live, sleep, and play here in San Diego, then this is the channel for you. You definitely want to click that subscribe button, tap that little bell so you're reminded every single time we release a new video. Because honestly, we do it every single week. And honestly, we get calls every single day with people just like you thinking about making that move to somewhere in San Diego. Whether you're moving from a different state to San Diego or you're just moving from a different area, maybe Chula Vista to San Diego, you definitely want to reach out to us. Give us a call, send us a text, or an email, whatever is easiest for you. We got your back when moving to San Diego. Now, let's get after what you got to know before you move. And at the top of our list, number one is going to be a pre-approval. I know you probably heard it a million times. You've got to get to the lender that's going to be able to give you the verification that you're ready to go with income, assets, credit, all of that stuff actually being verified to make sure that you have a competitive offer and competitive pre-approval that's going to be able to substantiate in this crazy overselling with a whole bunch of buyers kind of market. I know the market is going up, and it's been going up here in San Diego literally from 4 to 5%, almost to 8.7%, depending on the area. So it's really important that you get all of your ducks in a row and you check every single box and you dot every single T when it comes to that pre-approval. Because right now in San Diego, honestly, there's not just one offer or two or three. There is literally 10 to 20 to 30 offers on one home. This last week, one of my clients actually went through the process of trying to get their offer accepted. They had to go, not only already had a pre-approval letter from myself to be able to continue, but then they had to go get pre-qualified again from the other lender, from the seller, that wanted to make sure that their ducks were in a row, all their boxes were checked, and all of their I's were dotted. They went through that whole process for all 35 offers, and then they didn't even get the property. They didn't even get the offer accepted. So yeah, that kind of stinks. You got to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row, and even more so because now you got people double checking the work of the lender that's currently working for you. All right, so I know we want everything in this society now speedy, extra fast. Look, when you get onto a website and you get a pre-approval like that, it's different. When you're getting a pre-approval, nobody's verifying your information. They are assuming that your $20,000 of income a month that you inputted on that system is your actual income. So nobody's actually verifying it. So when you get that pre-approval that comes in 1 minute later, you're going to end up finding that there's a lot of missing boxes that were not checked. There's a lot of things that were not verified. And because of that, that pre-approval that's from that quick, fast lender may not be as sturdy as you think it may be. So you want to make sure that the lender that you're working with gets all of your documentation, looks at your pay stubs, your bank statements, your tax return, looks and verifies that maybe you have IRS debt that you got to make sure that you add into your qualification. Maybe there's some large deposits. Did you just put in an extra $30,000 into your bank account yesterday? Well, you got to explain stuff like that. All of those things are what I like to call Pandora's box. You don't want to have a Pandora's box open up and explode in your face during your 30 days. And that's why you got to make sure that all of your documents are uploaded and into that lender so they can verify every single thing and you're ready to go. So that way, in the eyes of the seller, you per se are a cash buyer. Of course, you're not a cash buyer because you're not paying $500,000 for that house, but you're as far as you can go when it comes to that pre-approval to be able to get into the next step, which is your offer acceptance. And in this market and during our pandemic, pre-approvals are not optional. They are required. So before you are ever going to get into one of those properties, you need a pre-approval because they're going to want to make sure that your information is valid and that you are ready to go. And they don't want just looky-loos coming into their homes. You got to make sure that you do all of the work before you start looking, not the other way around. Next on our list, number 2, is going to be the paperwork. Oh my gosh, it's a big, deep breath. There is so much paperwork. And while I'm the one that's bringing it all in, looking all over it, yeah, there's a lot of frustration that my clients do get. So why the frustration? Well, let's think about that bank statement. The bank statement that you turn into your lender. Bank statements need to be the actual bank statement, literally the one that gets mailed to you or maybe emailed to you because you do everything electronic, and you need all pages. So that means page 1 all the way to page 5. It doesn't mean just page 1, and it doesn't mean page 1, 2, 3, and 4, and not page 5. The lender is going to want all pages. And you can't just take a snapshot picture of your mobile bank just to show them, hey, I got money, because you know what? That doesn't work, okay? We got to make sure, where did that money come from? Just yesterday, I had a client that had gotten into their offer acceptance. They ended up finding out that they're not only going to have the $30,000 deposit of gift money that they got from one mom back in November, but also they're going to get another $30,000 gift money that is going to come from the other mom from the spouse. And so when you look at that sorts of stuff, all of those things, Pandora's box. You got to make sure that you got your I's dotted, T's crossed, and make sure that you're ready and set to go. Basic documentation when it comes to your pre-approval is going to be pay stubs for the last 30 days, bank statements for the last 2 months, tax returns. Yes, all pages, not state returns, federal tax returns. So that means for the last 2 years. So depending on when you're trying to buy the home, you may need for the last prior year. Right now, we're in 2021. We're not hitting in April yet. April 15th is when you're going to file those tax returns. And right now, you're not going to need your 2020s filed. You are going to need your W-2s, but not your filed tax returns. So depending on when you're thinking about buying a home, maybe you're going to need the current last year that just got done. Maybe you're not, but you got to make sure that you ask those questions. Let's not forget about your assets as to your retirement, 401k, IRA, stocks, bonds, life insurance, cash value, stuff like that. All of that you can add into your application. Want to make sure that you have a current driver's license. I know this sounds pretty bananas. Why does that matter? Because an expired driver's license can no longer verify your identities. You got to make sure that you get that also done. And then depending on whether you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, of course, you're going to have additional visa verifications like your permanent resident card. I know this is a lot of information, but generally speaking, that's what you're going to be looking at when it comes to documentation. Let's not get started on all of our out-of-the-box lending where you can do bank statement loans, meaning that you're using deposits to be able to verify your income. Or let's talk about like the self-employed clients where they have to have 2 years of tax returns, but the tax returns are like 300 pages long. And yes, your lender needs all 300 pages. And when you're self-employed, one of the biggest things that has just recently changed when it comes to COVID and the pandemic is that you have to have a profit and loss. So profit and loss is going to tell you how much money you've made in the last year. As a self-employed individual, I am sure you are already taken care of. You know exactly what that is. But you also got to know that depending on that profit and loss, on how much profit to how much actual cost you had, they're going to be looking at the bottom line, even though they're not filed tax returns. So you got to make sure that that also looks good too. So you got to make sure that you have everything calculated in that profit and loss. And then depending on what quarter of the year that you're filing, of course, you're going to need a longer profit and loss to cover more months. So definitely, due to the pandemic in this last year, there's been a lot of things that have definitely changed. But you got to make sure that depending on your income, will depend on what you're submitting. Don't forget, no two clients, no two families are the same. Two clients have completely different income, completely different credit scores, completely different questions. So you got to make sure that you got all of those I's dotted and T's crossed. Yes, so we are finally done with all of the extra legwork when it comes to just getting the ability of walking yourself into the door and looking at a house. Yes, that's the pre-approval and submitting your income documentation. Now we get to go on a home search. So now you actually get to go look at those properties. So you would think, hey, yeah, back in 2019 and prior to March of 2020, I could just go see open houses. That's no longer the case. Right now in California and in San Diego, you have to make an appointment. So you're going to have to sign a PEAD form. Yes, a PEAD form, P-E-A-D. So PEAD stands for Property Entry Advisory Declaration. So what is the PEAD form? You're going to have to sign it to make sure that, one, you don't have COVID. Two, you're bringing yourself in, and just like before, when you go into other places, they're going to ask you basic questions as, do you have a temperature? Have you been interacting with other people that are or have had COVID? Things like that. So that the home that you're entering is also safe for the other ones that are waiting in line with their appointment to enter as well. Unfortunately, the PEAD form is not optional. So you have to make sure that you sign it not just once for the entire day of the properties. No. You need to sign one PEAD form every single time you enter a property. So if you're going to go out on 20 different appointments during that Saturday, you're going to sign 20 different forms. You got to make sure that every single time that is taken care of, because it's for the safety of yourself, but also the sellers and all the other buyers that are entering that home. And let's say your pre-approval is for $650,000. Odds are when you're writing your offers, you're not going to be writing it for $650,000. Maybe you'll be writing it for $649,000. Maybe you'll be writing it for $650,002. Whatever the case may be, your pre-approval needs to reference that exact amount. You want to make sure that the lender that's actually going to be doing your loan is going to be able to be responsive. The reason why I say this is that a lot of the times we get that quick pre-approval that comes off of that system, right? Which is amazing. However, when you run into the problem that you need that updated, so that way it doesn't say $650,000. Now it says $649,000. Well, when that's updated, maybe it takes a day, maybe it takes a couple of hours, maybe it takes about a week to get that. Well, by that point, it's too late because homes right now are literally selling like hotcakes. So you got to make sure that you have the pre-approval while also having the ability of getting the pre-approval updated when you need it, especially if you want to show not the 650, but show 649,000. Typically, you don't want to show more that you can afford because you don't want to pay more when you're trying to offer a little bit less. But honestly, we're in a market right now where you're really not going to be offering lower than what that list price. Most likely, you're going to come in higher than what that amount is. So in general, you do want to make sure that you're ready to go with that pre-approval and that you have the lender that's going to be able to be responsive right now while you're doing the pre-approval and while you're shopping. Because if they're not responsive during that process, it's going to make it even harder to get your offer accepted. So we're moving on. We're moving to San Diego, California, and we're ready to go. We've been looking at homes, but wait, what don't we do to make sure that we don't have problems? Well, that's a good one. First off, you don't run your credit. You want to make sure that you don't end up going to go get another car loan or get another credit card. You definitely want to make sure that you're not actually moving around money. So your bank accounts, checking, savings. If you have $15,000 in your checking account, the $15,000 needs to be there when you get your offer accepted. You can't be moving around money or taking money out because those $15,000 that was there in that bank statement needs to be there when your offer gets accepted. Because if it's not there, then your lender is going to wonder, hey, where did this money go? And now where is your down payment? You definitely got to be off of the car dealership lots. Can't be buying a car because the way that your situation was set up, your financial numbers, it was set up without that new car. If you switch, turn in a car, buy a new car, let's say the difference of a monthly payment was $100. Maybe it's $100, wouldn't make a big deal, but maybe it's $100 that makes or breaks your loan. And you got to make sure that before you do something, you make a phone call back to your lender to make sure that whatever you're trying to do is not going to cause a problem. And let's not forget, you do not change your employment. You can't change your employment. You cannot retire in the middle of a process. If you retire in the middle of a home loan, you can pretty much confirm that you may not end up getting final approved because you're changing your actual income. What if the income that you were making when you were working at $150,000 a year, now you're retired. Now you're just going off of your pension or your 401k that you're going to be receiving. Let's say it's about $60,000. Well, if your income was over here and the $60,000 is over here, we're talking about two totally different incomes. And depending on your debt, this could be a very big deal. So you want to make sure to stay in the same employment. Don't change employments in one case with regards to retirement, but also don't change your employment where you're working for, let's say, a contractor and you're an electrician, and then you leave that and you go over to be a contractor like a carpenter, and now all of a sudden you're completely two different fields of work. Those are going to definitely change your type of income, which also will change your type of qualification. All right, so we got our offer accepted. We are 30 days away or even less from getting our keys to our new home. So now we got to go through the final steps. Get your appraisal verified to make sure that the home is worth what is actually on your purchase contract. So if your offer was accepted at $500,000, then your appraisal needs to come in at $500,000. If it doesn't come in at $500,000 and it comes in lower, then either you need to come up with that money to cover the difference, or you'll have to renegotiate. In this market, odds are you're probably going to have to come up with a difference because most likely they have a backup offer, which are literally people waiting in line to take that property from you. So you got to make sure that you are ready just in case that happens. Right now, we're not having a lot of appraisals not coming in, but you want to make sure that you got your ducks in a row when it comes to that. Then we're talking about our loan approval. So again, we just talked about the details of the fact that you got to have all of your information all the same. Don't buy a new car, don't change your assets, don't change your employment. The loan approval by the underwriter, which is the person that's going to verify the money that's being lent to you to be able to buy your home, is going to verify that all the information was actually done up and is perfect, meaning that something didn't magically change in between the time that you were in a pre-approval to got your offer accepted. So you got to make sure that all of that stuff is done as well. Loan approvals in general will be right in your 30 days, and they are pretty quick in general. So within a couple of days, you should be able to get that loan approval, and you'll be good with your contingencies, which will make sure that your loan is secure. During your 30 days, you're going to open escrow. You're going to have escrow and title, and they're going to go through a whole bunch of questions. They're going to send you a packet of a whole bunch of questions that they got. Make sure that everything, when they put your name on the title, is all accurate, and also that you don't have money owed back from IRS, state, judgments, liens, things from past collections, things like that. Those are options that could possibly change where the money is going to end up going. So for example, if you were just planning on putting your down payment in and then you forgot to tell your lender about money that you had to pay from a lawsuit that you lost, meaning that you owed somebody $10,000. Well, now there's a judgment against you and you have to pay the $10,000 plus your down payment and most likely your closing costs at the time of closing, right before you get your keys. That's all part of the boxes getting checked and your I's getting dotted and the T's getting crossed. But now we're talking about inside the process. We close loans in under 30 days. In some cases, we actually do them even faster, talking like 17 and 21 days. So yeah, things can definitely be moving right when you get your offer accepted and they say yes to you, but you got to make sure that the person that's going to be helping you, that lender, is ready to go just as fast. I've been doing loans for over 17 years, and I got to tell you, the same type of process with regards to financing is not the same at all the different institutions that I've been at. So you got to make sure that the lender that you're dealing with is local also to the area that you're looking at. So in this case, San Diego, because if you're dealing with a lender that's not local to San Diego or maybe doesn't know the real estate agents, maybe you're losing that leg up because the lender that would be local that you should be working with would be able to know the agent or maybe give you a little bit more kudos when it comes to getting your offer accepted. You got to make sure that you help yourself as much as you can to get that offer accepted, because to be honest, it's kind of hard to get your offer accepted right now. I have a lot of clients that are trying to get their offers accepted and looking at so many homes and they're just getting beaten out left and right. And so it is kind of tough. You got to make sure that you have at least the communication that comes with that lender that goes back to that real estate agent. So that agent, that listing agent that is representing the seller, knows that they're going to get the job done. So we were just talking about here on the MortgageLiz team that we do close loans under 30 days, 17 and those 21 days. But you want to make sure that in out-of-state lending, it's not the same. So when we're moving here in California, we're moving quick every single day to be able to do loans under 30 days. When I've done loans, when it comes to my clients that are moving into another state, let's say Michigan or North Carolina or Oklahoma, states like that, they don't move as fast. I have found that while I am moving pretty fast and I'm expecting things getting responsive back, I get the response telling me, why are we moving so quick? What's the big hurry? You want to make sure that the person that's helping you is also going to be moving as quick as you are. Communication. Oh my gosh, communication is massive when it comes to your home process and you're thinking about making that move to San Diego, because you want to make sure that when you reach out to your lender, they're going to call you back and that they're going to tell you all the steps of the process as they're coming along and even before they even happen. But not just with you, also communicating to your listing agent that is also the one that's representing the seller, plus your buyer's agent, which is the one that's representing you, and escrow. Because if all of a sudden they were really communicative in the beginning and then they stopped the communication once you got your offer accepted, it makes the process really hard for everybody else that's trying to get to the last leg of the race. And honestly, at the end of the day, we are a team. Not just me and you, and not just my team as the MortgageLiz team. No, everybody's a team. The listing agent, the seller, the buyer's agent, yourself, the escrow, her escrow assistant, myself, my team. We are a team together while you're looking at your property, while you finally get your offer accepted, and all the way to the end when you get your keys in your hand. You want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. I know, one of the things that we're always kind of curious about is discounts. How great of a deal can I get? So many times you end up looking on a website or looking at the mailer that ends up coming to your house and you see all of these crazy low interest rates. I gotta tell you, you get what you pay for. Here on the MortgageLiz team, maybe we're not the lowest, but we are definitely not the highest. Maybe we're not the fastest, but we're definitely not the slowest. And the thing is that you want to make sure is that everybody, one, is on your team. The other thing you want to make sure is that the people that are going to be helping you are also knowledgeable. Too many times have I ran into situations where clients were ready to go, ready to buy, but the lender that they were working with hadn't told them anything. They just said, hey, you qualify for $650,000. You're ready to go. Now go out and find your house. They had no idea what the monthly payment was, how much they were going to come up with at a closing, what their rates were being calculated as, where the mortgage insurance was going to come from. I mean, like, these were all relative details that you got to know in the very beginning. The client I just spoke to last night was in process, literally almost lost their money for their earnest deposit of $9,000. And they had no idea what the monthly payment was going to be because the lender never communicated it to them. Once they figured out what the monthly payment was going to be, it was going to be triple the amount of what they anticipated. And of course, they ended up backing out of the offer. So you want to make sure that everybody's got your back, not just on the interest rate and not just on the fees, but is actually explaining the process to you. Because there's a difference between low rates and low costs and the communication, because both of them are important, but one is definitely more important than the other. And I got to tell you, it's not the low rates and low costs. One thing you definitely got to remember is that when you're in escrow, that is not the time that you should be shopping rates. You need to be shopping rates at the point when you are going to find your first lender before you send them the first application, before you send them the first piece of documentation. You need to figure out that person who clicks with you. That's when you should be shopping rates, not when you get your offer accepted. And the reason why I say that is because if you got 17 days, 21 days, 30 days, you're going to be wasting time from the very beginning of your process to find your lender that has the lowest rate, low fees. At the point that you end up continuing the process with that new lender, whoever it may be, you will have just lost 3 to 5 to 7 days out of those 30 days. While you may think that 3 days is not a big deal, I can assure you it can make or break your time frame to make sure that you get your keys on time. Always make sure that you're checking Google reviews. Google reviews, Facebook reviews, Yelp reviews, all of that good stuff to make sure that what other people are saying are going to be able to help you to make your decision. And you can always, of course, go to your real estate agent, which will give you an idea as to who to go to when it comes to your lender. Maybe they've been working with the same lender to be able to refer them to you as well. And on to number 6, when you're ready to make that move here to San Diego, California, you definitely want to reach out to us. Give us a call, send us a text, or an email, whatever is easiest for you. I know that today we've been covering a lot of information with regards to the process of moving to San Diego, California. I can assure you there is way more steps than what we've been talking about today. But you want to make sure that you covered your bases. Don't forget to make sure that you verified your income, your documentation, your pay stubs, your tax returns, your credit score. Don't let somebody just give you a pre-approval with just the basics. So where they just took 2 seconds to look at your information and they told you you were good to go, but they didn't do all the research. So when you're ready to make that move, give us a call. We'll be ready to help you and we'll have your back when moving to San Diego, California. Now, don't forget, we release videos every single week on this channel. Make sure that you click that subscribe button, tap that little bell so you're reminded every single time we release a new video. And don't forget, on this channel, all we talk about is what it's like to eat, live, sleep, and play here in San Diego. And until next time, see you later.